Hello, everyone. Nice to see you here. So, today we are going to present the talk that will be concerned for the editors and also for developers who are doing experience for the editors. So, my name is Artem Dmitriev, and
my name is Bruno Bruno. It is not a typo, by the way. That is my real name. We're both developers here at 1x Internet.
yes, and first we want to shortly present our company. So, we are a web agency based in Germany, Spain, and Reykjavik. We are doing mostly Drupal, but we are a multinational team of 85 plus people scattered like along Europe. And for the past 10 years, we were doing a lot of Drupal projects, more than 200 with big and small clients. And today we are going to talk about our experience, how we were facing the problems with editor UX and how we were trying to solve it. And today we want to share our knowledge and to help you maybe as a content editor or the developer to make the life of content editors and creators easier. And then just the first question today is, what is good editor experience? We were trying to find out this, and we were asking our clients for feedback, and we were collecting feedback from our UX designers, and we created a summary page. It's by this QR code, you can also check it, where we put all the points that we think that will help to make the life easier for editors and also for developers who create the editor's experience. So just check it out, but we will also talk about all the points here today. So the first one, like what editors needs. First one, of course, create structural content, because content can be reused in many ways. First of all, in the meta tags or schema meta tags, these rich snippets. Then you can also use your content on the monolithic Drupal or on headless site. And that's why it should be structured, and you should know like which fields are you really using and which one you are creating and editing. Then second, of course, you would like to do it multi-language site to face your audience. Then, of course, easily reverting changes, so Akka revisions, and maybe sync content between environments or between different sites even. And of course, as we know, like Drupal is evolving, and we mostly have everything now in core. But some contrib modules also help us to, for example, sync content between environments. So next one would be the media management. Since Drupal 8, media management is super easy now because we have media library, we have all these core modules that support different kinds of media, remote videos, images. And next one would be editors want to create some complex elements, complex objects, and they want to make it easy. So they don't have to know how to create accordion, what markup should be there. They just need to put the content. And this is, of course, also covered with Drupal core already a bit and with different contrib modules. So, for example, layout builder, new experience builder, paragraphs, bricks, like old modules, but a lot of others.
Yeah, and something that we'll also be going over in some of the other slides is what else do we need? And this is being able to really preview the content without publishing it first, without having to save it, really having that really quick initial feedback of how something looks. And as it mentions there, this is not only for notes, so for everything kind of related to your content. And just really have a what you see is what you get experience. Once again, not only with text content, but really when it comes to all of the content on your page, all of the different components, images, all of this, we should be able to see this kind of immediately as we're making these changes, and this can really provide that extra value to these editors. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, and the first point that we will show today would be about the creating content. So you want your editors to create similar pages. For example, if it's landing page, it should have some header and footer that is always the same or always look the same, but the content inside is different. But to make it, you will definitely try to use something like templates, yes? And for example, current situation, if your site is based on paragraphs, for example, you will see like on the left in the admin UI. Of course, you don't want editors to see this. They will not find the text for try Drupal by yourself. That's super hard to find. So editors should really see the picture on the right, and they can easily edit this picture on the right. And then how we can achieve this? That's like the question to developers now. So what would make editor experience better? Of course, there is Gene theme, Claro or Gene. And there is Gene toolbar and the coffee module and admin toolbar, everything that helps editors to find the links easier. Then, for example, field groups, crop module, drop.js, media library. So if we just check how you can organize the page so editors know like what they are putting in. So for example, if you have something in your header, so just put it in the header tab. If you have something like main content, put it in the main tab of the field groups. And then if there is something that you want to show, not to show even to people, but it's just like category or some date for the news, that would be the settings tab, for example. Next step for developers would be to provide some access control. So you don't want your editors to create users, for example, or you don't want them to give other users some site administration permissions. Here comes the modules like role delegation or field permissions or override node options and view unpublished. So like these small modules that we always skip, but they are really not small in the importance, but they are really small in, for example, code base, but they are really powerful and can help you a lot. And of course, the how to make the good structure of your content. Here comes modules like paragraphs, maybe Gutenberg, experience builder again, layout builder. These all modules will help you to structure your content so you can reuse it afterwards, not only in monolithic Drupal or maybe in headless, or to create easy the meta text. And we invite you all to the session of our colleague Yannick. He's also here, and he will talk about all these small modules and how we use them in 1x Internet. And if you want now also to check everything that we will show you, we encourage you to check this QR code, and you can spin up environment for you and play around with everything that we will show you now at the moment with our pre-configured Drupal, with pre-configured experience for editors, how we think it's best. Of course, we also want your feedback afterwards, if you will. And here is some example of what you will see if you do it. So maybe one more time if you want still to check the link. And yeah, the first point that we will try now is just how to create content. So before editing, we just first need to create one. And normally what editors do, they create content not in Drupal, they create it somewhere. So most of them maybe start with Word, Microsoft Word. And you can see, like, if you do it new, you just have a bunch of templates. The same would be if you use Google Docs. So then you start your new document, and then it suggests you to use some template. But all these templates, they just show you structure and some styles of how headings will look like, some tables will look like, but they actually lack of this dummy placeholder content that you don't see what you will get. So why not have this in Drupal? Why we just can't add content from template and then just see the same? So for this, we introduce to your attention the content templates module. 1x Internet created it, and we want to share so you can also benefit from it. So what are the main features of the module? So first of all, it has dummy content. So when you create a template, you can create placeholders, and these placeholders that were created by more experienced editors can be used then further by less experienced editors, that they will just substitute the content. They don't need even to know how the HTML structure of this content or like the structure of the site it is. They just can substitute the content and have a nice looking page. These predefined templates allow to also create really complex elements. So for example, like gallery. It's so simple to the eye, but if you check how it's done inside, it's really complicated. The same as accordion, or like even the so simple one that's 2 columns. So for example, I want to show you how this accordion that I was showing on the previous slide is in the backend. So normally, if you, for example, do it with paragraphs, it would be like accordion paragraph that contains of couple of accordion item paragraphs, and how complex they can be on in admin UI. So you see it like some image field and text, or just normal text, and then it comes super long, super complicated, and of course editors can be confused of this view and not like know what to do with it. So of course then it's better that these elements are copied or cloned, and that's why the content templates module is built on top of Quick Node module. I think a lot of people know it, and it has like 58,000+ installations. It's well maintained. It has support of Drupal 8, 9, 10, and soon 11. So it's really well maintained and can be a good base for our module. So let's see how you easily can create the template from the page that you already have. So normally you would just select any page that you want, and then just use the template tab. You can also upload some preview image for the template so you can easily identify it in the list afterwards. And you can also apply some categorization, so the same as Microsoft Word using or Google Docs. And after you created the template, it appears on the templates page. And you can, of course, create content from it right away. And to create content, you just go on the Add Content from template, select from which template you want to create. Of course, do some modifications. And you already have the page that looks the same as the one that Experience Editor wanted to be. And also already with some dummy placeholder content that will help you just to find the place where you need to substitute the content. And then some information about how the module works also. So editors will mostly visit the content overview page. And then from it, you can also create the content. You can filter by your templates, and you can easily see from which template any content was created. The same you can see on the edit add form. So there is an identifier from which template it was created. And of course, you can, on the template page, you can find all the children that were created from the template. So you can easily manage all the pages that were created from this template. And then, of course, after you have created the content, you want to edit it. And as we saw that there are some really complex structures, there is another module that 1x Internet contributed, and Bruno will tell about it.
Yeah, so now we get to the actual editing part of the content. And this is where the front-end editing module comes in now. I really do think that this is really the game changer when it comes to really editing your content in the fastest, simplest, and most efficient way. And this is not only aimed at content editors, but it can also even be highly beneficial for developers, or really anyone that knows and has experienced sometimes the pains of having to navigate back and forth between these more complex edit forms and these big edit forms, even if it's just a small change that is required to the content. Now, front-end editing eliminates the need to have to go back and forth between these edit pages, and instead allows us to make all of the necessary adjustments right there on our content page in real time. I will just show you very quickly a video so that you will know before we go more in depth what I'm actually talking about here. Yep, so as you can see here, we will have some simple text, but it can really be anything. As you can see, we're editing these things here in our content page, and you can really see in real time these changes that we're seeing. You know, it works for text, for all sorts of different settings and images, and you can really see everything in real time. Of course, without saving, you can obviously save at the end, but you can also see these changes in the beginning and really have a preview without saving. Of course, as I said, also works for images, really any content that we're editing here. And there we go. That was a sort of very, very quick example, just to let you know more or less what we're actually talking about here. So let's actually get into it. So once again, front-end editing, what are we actually offering here with this module? Well, the first one is it really gives us an easy access to the editing of our content items. Now, most likely in your existing implementation on your existing website, if you want to make an adjustment, either if it's small or if it's big, this navigation is required, you know, going onto these different edit pages, going onto these edit forms. And what we can do here with this module is really only edit the part of the page which we actually need to change. Now, we can only edit, we can make it so we can edit specific components. And this really allows us, the content editor, to make these changes, as we saw before on the other slides on these edit forms, without the overwhelming amount of fields, without the overwhelming amount of settings that maybe less experienced content editor might not be aware of. You know, it might be confusing. It also really reduces the complexity, especially in more large, complex environments, and also when nested structures come into play. Now, obviously, as we also saw, another feature of the front-end editing module is we can actually get a preview in real time of the changes we are making, really be able to visualize these adjustments we are making without a page reload in real time, without having to kind of visualize in our head or make a safe estimate of what our changes actually look like before we publish them and before we save them. So you can really just see everything right there on that content page. But how does this actually work? Of course, this is Drupal, so we're very big on contribution, and this is also the case here. So this was obviously not completely built from scratch by us, but rather with the help of some other modules that Artem can probably explain a bit better about.
So the first choice of our company was to use paragraphs. That's why this module is now have a dependency on paragraphs and paragraphs edit. But the next version already is going away a bit from the paragraphs, and the goal is to completely make paragraphs optional dependency. So if you want to use paragraphs, you can use paragraphs. If you want to use any other entity or any other approach, then you can also use. But now front-end editing supports any content entity type. But paragraphs edit is there because it can also support paragraphs. And paragraphs edit allows you to edit paragraphs outside of the host entity. So it's not inside the widget, but a standalone form for each paragraph. Edit form, add form, and delete form. The next module that we are using, it's extra field module and extra field plus modules. This is only made for flexible configuration. So you can easily select where you want to show your front-end editing. Because, for example, some components on the page are not really needed to be edited, or you can also select which form display you want to use in this sidebar that you see when you click on edit. So, for example, if you want to edit only the node preview that has title, image, and some preview text, you will also see only these 3 fields on the sidebar. So you don't have to see all these 100 fields that you have. And with meta text, for example, you will only see the ones that are needed. And of course, the optional module is all entity preview. It's the one that allows you to see this real-time changes. And what front-end editing does, it just wraps this all functionality together and tries to provide the best content editing experience with help of stuff that was done especially for this module. And first is that paragraph behaviors are supported, because this is part of the widget only. So paragraphs edit didn't have it, so we added. Then you can select which form mode you want to see in the sidebar. That was also like from the front-end editing. The other good feature is that you can change the order of the entity references. So not only paragraphs, you can also edit entity reference fields. For example, the gallery, you can just change the order of the items in the gallery, or add new paragraphs or reference new existing or new entity reference fields. And of course, we added this automatic preview. So all entity preview module just allows you to see the changes, but front-end editing detects the changes that you have made in the form and automatically show them to the page.
Okay, so now we've talked, some bit how this can improve content editing, how this can be beneficial, really improve your productivity. But how do we make sure that, we really have a nice user experience, a nice UI on the end that really ties up everything together and makes this not only powerful, but also really simple to use, very simple to use for the editor. And that's what we'll show now. Now, over this kind of past year, we really put a lot of effort into updating this UI and this user experience to really be as simple as ever and really make it much more enjoyable to the user. And this was possible by really working shoulder to shoulder with our designers and going over very many different iterations from feedback, internal feedback with clients and even users of the front-end editing module itself. So this was really something that was the result of multiple improvements and testing and feedback. Because something can really be powerful and really provide this great power, but unless it's nice to use, unless it's simple to use, then it really loses a lot of value. So let's actually look at what this looks like. First of all, once again, I want to show that this was built using the Drupal installation by 1x Internet, which you can actually spin up a demo of yourself. It contains already all of this configuration that we'll be talking about here, as well as the exact page that we'll be going over. So you can really, by scanning the QR code or going to the 1x Internet website, you can spin up a demo yourself and go over exactly what we're talking about. But first, I just want you to kind of see there on our existing page right now, we're hovering over this component. I'll refer to them as components of our page. But, we're currently hovering over this part of the page that sits in the center. And immediately what I want you to notice is we've really tried to make this lightweight and intuitive to use, really simple to a content editor, really simple to a user, and very importantly, also make it very discreet on the page. Now, this is what I refer to sometimes as, expensive real estate. This is where we are currently visualizing our changes. This is where we interact with our website like a user and really make all of our tests. So not only doesn't this need to be nice to use and simple to use, but we really want to make sure that it does not get in the way of our existing routines, does not add any blockers, in a way that you can continue your current workflow, but really in a much easier and more accessible way. And it's also very important that no extra training is required here. As we also mentioned, this is really useful. We also want it to be really useful for less experienced editors. So it's very important that no extra technical knowledge is required here, and really anyone can pick it up, very efficiently, very easily. So now, as intuitive as it is, I still want to go over some of the UI and some of how this works. So the first thing I kind of want to point over to, that which is actually not highlighted in this current slide, is this image text label that we have on the far left. Now, of course, you might be thinking, well, obviously we have some image and we have some image text. This is obviously an image text component. But you might know from maybe your existing websites, your existing implementations, that sometimes in more complex content, it's not as obvious to identify what we're actually working with here. And you might find yourself having to, go on these edit forms, scroll up and down, looking for clues of what the content we're editing actually is. And what this allows us to do is really easily and quickly not only make these changes immediately to the component that we're currently looking at, but also identify it in a very quick way, in a way that even if we do want to jump onto those edit forms to make those changes, we can first identify it on our content page, and then we can easily find it on those edit forms to make the changes that are required. Now, the next one I want to move on to is the pencil icon, the edit icon, probably the one that we'll be using the most. And this just opens this edit form on the right, this sidebar. Now, I'll be going over a little bit more into the different configurations you can have with this form here, but I really want to get the point across that we're not reinventing anything here. This is just a standard Drupal form with standard Drupal elements. And what that means is we're not removing any of the existing functionality that you get with your content editing experience on these form pages, but really we are making it easier and more accessible to access these forms by putting it directly on the content page where you can see these changes immediately. So we're not giving up any functionality, but rather making it much more easier to access. You can see in this case, we have some field for text, field for image, and sort of all these different settings related, in our case, to the image text component. So next we have these arrow buttons. Now, once again, very intuitive. They just allow you to reorder the components on your page. When you're on those edit forms, once again, you have to identify the components. You have to drag and drop them around. You have to change the weights. And of course, this works in a very great way. But it can just be faster. It can be more immediate. It can give you that instant feedback of the changes you are making without having to save it. Really be able to instantly make that decision on the spot. So the last button that we have in our UI here is this add new items below or above button. Now, once again, this does exactly what you think it does. It allows you to add these new configured components either above or below your currently hovered paragraph. And I will be very repetitive here, but hopefully that just really highlights the repetitive processes that these content editors go through. But once again, if we want to add this new component to our page, we are having to go on the edit form. We're having to add this component, fill in its fields without even actually knowing what this actually looks like at any point. And it's not even a place where we actually want to be. And this just allows us, once again, immediately to add our content to our page, see immediately what it looks like, start playing around with it, and just really get that instant feedback that really makes this process much more efficient, much more faster. Now I want to look at some more complex examples. Now, the first thing you might be thinking, this is not a complex example at all. There is some text and there is an image. What's complicated about this? Well, my answer to that is, well, exactly. This does not need to be complex at all, especially not to editors. And this really is the work here of the front-end editing module. Not only does it provide us with a clear and simple view of the depth of the entity, so you can actually see by these light blue borders around what we're currently hovering that it's actually sitting 3 layers deep into this current nested structure. It also only shows us what we need. It allows us to edit exactly only what we need. We don't need to be concerned with all of this irrelevant information and fields, as we saw before with the accordion item and accordion paragraphs. We don't really need to be concerned with all of this extra information, all these extra fields, especially not to less experienced content editors. And it's really good to just allow us to really make these changes on only the things that we need without having to worry about these other sometimes unrelated settings. And once again, on the third, no more expanding forms, no more having to scroll up and down to find the content that you actually need to edit. And then we get to, as I mentioned earlier, the form configurations, the different possibilities that we have here with the front editing module. In the first one, they've also been mentioned before, but that is the ability to make it so that only certain components actually have these editable actions on your page. Now, of course, we don't want every single part of a page to be editable. There might be certain parts which are actually static and they actually always sit on your page, and having the ability to edit these might have actually even add some sort of new complexity to the content changes that we're making. So very simple configuration. You can simply make it so that only certain paragraphs, only certain components, and really your content can be changed up to your liking, up to your workflow, how you edit your content. The different thing we can do with these form configurations is the ability to choose the form mode for updating the entity fields. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's say we have actual components themselves, not on our page and other multiple pages, but let's say we have components that are actually complex themselves, and they contain a lot of complex fields and a lot of overwhelming behaviors and settings. How can we actually reduce the complexity there as well? Well, this is where this abstraction comes in. You can actually, since this is a standard Drupal form, you can actually choose the fields that you want to edit. You know, the whole point is to remove this complexity and really only manage the necessary, especially in more advanced implementations. So you can really make it so that this form that appears on the right side really only contains the relevant fields to your workflow. As an example that I have there, let's say we have these content previews, these teasers, these cards on your page. You know, of course, they might contain these dozens of settings. We actually don't need them. Or rather, we don't need them when we're making these edits to our on our content page. You know, these really much smaller adjustments. We can make it so that in a very simple way, you just are able to edit the image or the title and the preview text. It's again something that maybe a less experienced content editor can really come in and make those changes immediately without sort of any overwhelming information or any technical knowledge required. Something else that you can configure is this ability to observe your changes in real time. Now, of course, this is great, and most people will find this very beneficial, really being able to see your changes immediately on the screen as you're making them. But of course, this is completely up to you. If that does not fit your workflow, if that does not fit simply the way that you edit your content, this can also be removed. Once again, this is up to you and how you work. We're trying to improve the productivity here and your existing procedures. So once again, this can be configured up to you. So now I'm going to show once again a video of the things that we currently just talked about, so that once again, now that you have this extra information, you can really see the benefit here. So here you can see the gallery and how these look like on the actual form page, and now how this actually will look like when we're editing them using the front-end editing module. So we have this gallery here consisting of 3 images. You know, we open the sidebar and this is basically it. We can edit and we can remove the images. Now, of course, this is something that we want to be able to do. We're just talking about images here. We just want to be able to add and remove these images without having to know about how all these things work in the backend side of things, in the Drupal site building side of things. You know, we just want to be able to make those changes very quickly and very easily. So hopefully from that video, you're able to see kind of the real value that the front-end editing module can bring to a content editor, you know, really speed up the process and efficiency and productivity to these content editors. And not only that, but actually also to developers like myself, where we have to, make and edit all sorts of functionality and test different functionality and different components with a different variants of information, with image, without images, with more text, with less text. And also for developers, this can also be a repetitive and tedious process. This really makes it much more faster and easier to test functionality with a bunch of different content. So now we've seen the base functionality, but there is actually some more things that you can do with the front-end editing module, and I actually consider this to be a very cool part of the module, because once again, being able to really customize something to look as part of your ecosystem, look as part of your project, this is something that's really cool, very important. So not over the past year, not only have we looked at improving the user experience and the user interface, but we've also started offering different ways to configure the front-end editing module to fit your productivity needs, but also your brand identity needs. Because we believe that editors, we really have a much greater experience if everything is falling into place nicely, exactly how you want it, especially on these screens that we are sometimes looking at for so long. And the first kind of extra functionality that I want to mention is this very simple addition, and is being able to very quickly switch on and off the front-end editing functionality. Now, I want to kind of iterate the point earlier about this expensive real estate. Now, of course, this UI will be placed on our content page, where we visualize our changes, where we interact with our website, where we test our functionality. So it's very important that we do not get in the way of this. It's very important that we don't introduce any barriers to your existing workflow, to how you're currently making your changes. So we've simply allowed editors and users to keep using their website as normal, to still be able to do everything as you were. With this simple addition, you can turn it on and make your changes and then turn it back off. This really just prevents, once again, adding these blockers to your current workflow, really being able to still do everything you're able to do without having to log out, without having to incognito mode to still interact with your website as you were before. Now, something else that's important, which maybe you thought as well, now we have this button on the bottom right. Now that's covering up some content. Well, we actually also introduced now another small feature, which you can basically place it anywhere you want. We're aware that you might have some functionality that sits on that bottom right side of the screen. You might have a widget. You might even have another contributed module that takes up that part of the page. I certainly know I do. So you can simply put it once again up to where it's most efficient for you. Not even in terms of maybe blocking functionality, but in terms of where it's easier for you to click. Once again, you can really make it so that it suits you and your workflow. Now, I can tell you, firstly, this was something that was heavily requested by users and really leaders of these content editing teams. So this is something that was heavily requested and that we've implemented in this past year. But also, I can also tell you, on every website that I've gone to which has the front-end editing module, this has been enabled and it's been placed all over the place up to their needs. But it's very cool to see that this is something that's once again very useful. There is actually here also a small video just showing you how that works. You can see in this case it sits on the bottom right. Just like that, you easily enable it, and you have this new UI where you can make these changes. And now this we already know about. Now, the other very small, which sounds like very small addition that we have to the front-end editing module is, once again, very simple, the ability to change the primary UI color. Now, what this allows you to do is to really integrate this seamlessly with your existing branding, with your existing website. Whether you are a small website user that just likes everything kind of falling into place with your existing theme, with your existing design, or you are a bigger company that has this brand identity that you want to show not only externally to users, but also you want to keep internally for your own employees. And this is just a very simple but effective way at making your website, once again, consistent, even when it comes to contributed solutions. So, this is not just a simple external tool that you can just bring in and it looks out of place, but, It's just something that it just brings everything together. It makes it much more easier to look at, and less invasive. Once again, really sits in discreetly on your page, which is our goal, to make it look like it was something that's already part of your content and not pulled in. There's actually some other things. I'll now give it to Artem, so can talk about those.
Yeah, then now, like a logical question, if you use headless, do you need front-end editing? Yeah, of course you can use it. And yes, you will not see it just exactly on your page, on your front end, but you still can have this ease of editing because you still need place where you edit stuff. And for this, you can use, for example, Gin theme or Claro theme and front-end editing. And yep, I want to show you how we are using it in our headless solution. So for example, this is back office with Gin theme and some modified templates for displaying paragraphs. And you still see the front-end editing integrated. And we have, for example, nice navigation on sections. Like here, you just change it and you can easily jump from one section to another section. And you still, of course, have the same editing experience and the same moving, reordering experience, adding new items, and still you have the preview. So we see this welcome to Barcelona. We just save it, and now we will see the front end. And on the front end, there was no Barcelona, and yeah, now it's here. So it's yes, it sounds like silly, but that was the Drupal backend and Next.js application. And yeah, of course, we want to hear from you. So if you have any feedback, you are welcome to create any issue on the issue queue, or of course, just come to our 1x booth and we can talk about any module that you have seen here or you have seen in the Try Drupal installation. So just come to our booth, and you can also check our landing page for DrupalCon because there are a lot of prizes that you can win, including Nike, Air Force, and yo-yo competition. So if you want, just come in. Of course, please stay here in this room and listen to the talk of Christoph Breidert about AI. That's will be really interesting. And again, one more time, we all also invite you to listen to Yannick, who will talk about these hidden diamonds, the nice modules that we're using in Try Drupal and that make the life of editors easier and developers as well. And of course, please come to contribution. Also, maybe contribute to front-end editing module and any other module you like. And this is really valuable. Special thanks, of course, to the Quack. This was used to spin up all these Try Drupals that you might use, or yeah, if you use again like Try Drupal, this is what is behind. And if you have any questions, please.
Hi, thanks for the demonstration. We run a Drupal site using Gutenberg, so we have a different approach to some of these challenges, but I've yet to see somebody that gives a solution that will show you a preview of both the desktop and the mobile, of those being the two main versions of what your users are going to see. Your editor solution lays a big weight on the focuses on the desktop experience, but 2/3 of users usually sit on mobile. Have you considered that, and do you have any solutions for that?
Yeah, at the moment, like whenever you open the browser in the mobile mode, you can also see how it will look in mobile, of course. It will be less easy, of course, with this sidebar. But yeah, that's a good feedback, and we can also talk about this if you want, and just follow up on this.
Yes, hi. Thank you for the presentation. When using the front-end editing and the changes are abandoned, does it create a draft?
At the moment, it doesn't. So every change that you do, it just on the screen. And if you just close, for example, the sidebar, it's gone, of course. Or if you reload the page and you didn't save, it's also gone.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the module. I think it's really a game changer for content editors. I wanted to know how do you see the future of this module regarding the module that Dries presented just before Experience Builder?
Yeah, so we are not thinking that this will be competition because first of all, we are from different worlds. This is more like a standard way how it was before, like using paragraphs or like blocks. It can still be used in layout builder that is block based, but of course in experience builder this module will be obsolete because that's like completely different way of creating content. The same as a Gutenberg, for example, it's completely this like different way. But we will try to see like where it goes. The experience builder, maybe we can just try to implement something on top of it. But we just need to know like how it ends up. Now it's too early to do something on top of experience builder because it's not stable yet. But yeah, that would be also nice to explore. Yeah, I guess we have no more time. So thank you very much.